Good evening and welcome to tonight's driver's ed class. We'll wait for people to sign in. So remember to sign in on the phone and to sign in on YouTube if you can. But definitely make sure you are signed in. Grayson, welcome. By the way, I think Thursday at 5 is going to work. So text me on your phone that you still want Thursday at 5. I've made arrangements to make that happen. So text me, let me know. And I'll take a look at the messages. So we're starting to get people to sign in. Great. Okay, I got it, Grayson. I just got the text message, so I'm going to slide you into that slot for Thursday. So we'll see you tomorrow. I do have an opening tomorrow at 10 o'clock. If anybody wants to drive tomorrow at 10 o'clock, let me know, and we'll slot you in. If not, for those of you that we could take a look at Thursday and Friday, there may be a few spots, but after school it's getting pretty rough. Saturday is always open, so let's kind of fill in the holes. If you've got free periods during the day, if you want to drive during lunch, we can do that too. So please contact me and let me know for availability. And I'm not going to be able to check my phone that much, because once we get going, then I'm not going to be able to remember, so I'll have to look back at it. At the end of tonight's class, I will have homework posted on the remote Facebook page, probably within 15 minutes after we finish up. So check on that. I was looking at the sheet. I know I'm a little bit behind, but we hope to do some catching up tonight. So we're going to finish up with sign signals, pavement markings. Stopping and speed will be included tonight, but I'm sure we will not be getting to road rage. So that will be part of another class, probably tomorrow's class, maybe. So tomorrow will be parking, finishing up a thing on speed, maybe distracted driving. We'll do driving emergencies, and actually, I think we're going to we'll do road rage and parking, take distracted driving out, put it over with driving emergencies, and do the midterm tomorrow. So midterm will be tomorrow evening at the end of class. So we're going to have a regular class, and the last, probably, we won't have full class, the last 45 minutes. I think that's probably about all you're going to need for time to do the midterm. We'll do it that way. So that's what we're going to do. So take out some paper. We're going to finish up our notes on sign signals, pavement markings, and then get right into stopping and speed. So we basically left off talking about a term called point of no return. So please write this down if you hadn't done it last Thursday for class. One of the more difficult things that you will ever do driving will be handling traffic lights that change as you're approaching. So there has to come a point where you either go through or you stop. But what I want you to write down in your notes, it's based upon your speed and how close you are to the traffic light. So if you're in a 20 zone or 25 zone, like Durham is, you need less distance to stop. But if you are in, let's say, 155, it's 35 or 40 miles per hour. Or even like on Route 4, okay, it goes from 55 to 40. Right near Madbury Road on Route 4, there's a traffic light, so you're going quite fast. So as you approach, I am a firm believer. Make sure you write this down. I think this will help all of you. Always go slightly slower than the speed limit when approaching a green light. You always want to think the worst. That light's going to change on me. So if you're going from a 30 down to 26, 27 miles per hour, you're going to have that probably an extra 20 feet, 30 feet by just dropping it down 2-3 miles per hour. And that's huge. That's huge. But also remember, there are traffic behind you. They may read the yellow light different than you. So when you do slow down and stop, it's going to be relatively gradual. It can be slamming on the brakes because you will be hit from behind. And always look for something up ahead that's going to help you make that determination. Meaning it's a crack in the road, it's a sign, it could be a person walking. It doesn't have to be a fixed object, but it should help you. Traffic lights with arrows are called protected turns. So a green arrow indicates that you are the only one going in that direction. Everybody else at all three areas around the intersection will be red. That is indicating that you should be able to take your time, process where you want your position in the lane to make a decent turn. A red arrow, what I want you to write down, basically is like a regular circle red light. It's just going to give you some idea that it will be also a protected green arrow. But it's really just a red light. You can turn right on a red arrow as long as there's no sign posted. Now, by the way, this picture that I have taken is from Dover, and that sign is no longer there. There was enough of an uproar from local residents that they determined that let's take the sign down, let the flow of traffic continue on after stopping, checking, and making a determination that they can actually get out into traffic. Now, if you really want to see how well your parents know traffic law, write this down and ask your parents tonight, and maybe tell me later when we drive how they answered this. Ask your parents, when can you turn left on a red light? I will almost bet that every single parent that is asked will say, you never can turn left on a red light. You can only turn right on a red light. You can only turn, right on a red light. You can never do it to the left. That would be incorrect, okay? So what I want you to write down so you know this, you can always turn left on a red light that is blinking. It could be a blinking red arrow to the left. It could be a regular circle red light, but it's blinking. So the blinking light basically tells you to stop. All right. Now, some of you, I've asked this question, what does a blinking yellow indicate? Some of you have answered slow down or stop, and that is not correct. Yellow is a caution light. You may have to slow down if you're picking up information of traffic pulling in or out that may interfere with what you're trying to do. It's really important that you understand how traffic lights work, what the light color means, and the difference between a solid light and a blinking light. Because remember, a lot of your driving mistakes will be on situations that you are unsure of. So the better your knowledge base, the better off you're going to be as a driver. You're not going to scare people, hopefully, when you're driving. This used to be a video that I showed class, but I couldn't find the original. So for some reason, when I click on it, it doesn't actually show. I think I've got red light runners here. This is what I wanted to show you. Let me get out of this one and bring you to this. I do have this on video. We were just talking about the point of no return. And I was driving tonight with one of you. I'm not going to mention who it was with, but we saw a person really run a red light. It wasn't just yellow, then red, and they went through. It was like 2-3 seconds long red, and they were still going through. I want you to count the seconds from the time the light turns to red that people are still making a decision to go through the intersection. Some of these will actually really baffle you, that people would think that it's okay. So remember, I want you to count the seconds. So let's take a look at the first one. They're going to give you the top 10 from Missouri, and I can't remember what year this was from, but okay, notice the light is now red, and then someone goes through. So that was probably about 3 seconds. And notice the displaced stop line there too. So I'm trying to point that out to you when we're driving in Durham. Okay, the light is red. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 seconds, and he's going through. Notice the car that had the green light. When you get a green light, when you're the first one going through, you should always hesitate, because there will be people like this who will be running a red light. So hesitate. So here comes the light changing. 1, 2, 3, 4. Same thing. Car inches out. Remember, before you go through the intersection, you should judge the speed of the cars that are coming. Now here you're going to see the red light runner is going to split between two cars. Luckily, no one was hit. That was an accident waiting to happen. Now here's a person that passes a stop car to go through a red light. I think the van driver just wasn't paying attention. Rather than hit the red vehicle, decided to go around it and right through the red light. This is one of my favorite ones. Okay, here's the red light. Now he realizes that the green light is on and this vehicle's bigger than he is. And he realizes, I better not, continue on. They're bigger than me. It's not going to turn out in my favor. Now you're going to see some actual fender benders. Next one, I think, is in the rain. So, of course, stopping distance is going to be more in rain. And by the way, when we see number 2, I think number 2 is worse than number 1. You tell me, watching these next two, which one you think is the worst. Ouch. Okay? There's a reason why there's a signal that says do not walk. Because cars have a green light. So I think number 2 is worse than this one. And by the way, most of these that where there's crashes is that people just aren't paying attention. They're not looking. They're not seeing where there's going to be conflict. Now, this is the worst red light runner. You're going to see a car come to a stop, and now the buses are going to go through on their green light. Now, that second red car, now they're going to show you a video from the opposite side of the road. So you're going to see how far back the car is. So right now the light's green. It's going to change to red. Now it's red. And notice the car that's stopping, and look how far back. Look how far back that second car is. I mean, you've got to realize, and when they say red light cameras are working, we're seeing more and more metropolitan areas using, write this down, it's called photo enforcement. So the only reason why we have these videos is because the cameras are on, and recording everything. So all these drivers that we saw make mistakes, they're getting their violation in the mail. There is no police officer pulling them over. What they're doing is they're getting their registration addresses from the license plate number and sending tickets to people that are actually running these red lights. So photo enforcement basically is cameras that are seeing you go through red lights or speeding. Okay, you can't refute what is on video. Now, when a police officer pulls you over, it's his word against your word, and that's why you have to go to traffic court, to fight it. So we're seeing more video evidence, okay, about what is happening out on the roadway, and they're just not going to, throw these out because that video evidence is substantial. Now, you may debate, I wasn't paying attention, I thought it was really still yellow, but the video, let's go to the video, and no, it's actually red. So let's kind of pop back in and take a look at a few other things about signs. Crosswalks. Pedestrian traffic, you have to yield to. And as I had said earlier, that it's more difficult to pick up pedestrian traffic coming from the left and to the right. For some reason, our eyes were being trained to focus on the yellow and the white line and position our vehicle. So we're so laser focused on our lane that we're not really going much to the left with our peripheral vision. Now, we drive a lot in a college town, and the police can pull you over for this. So the way that it's written in the law is that if they're waiting at the end of a crosswalk or have started to cross the road on a crosswalk, they become our problem. We must yield to them. Now, because there's so much pedestrian traffic, my philosophy, if they're walking away from you, okay, they're going from right to left, the minute they get beyond the yellow line into the other lane, as long as we go slow, I tell my students continue on at a slow rate of speed. But if they're walking from left to right, you've got to wait for them as they enter onto the street and cross all the way in front of you. And anytime that a pedestrian is walking in front of you, you should not be moving. The terminology that we use for that, it's called pushing. So write that down. When you're stopped and a person walks in front of you, but then you let go of the brake a little bit, and some of you have been doing this, even though you're only going up a foot or two, the term pushing means is that you want to give the pedestrian some idea that you're not happy with how slow they're going, and by moving, you're hoping that they pick up their pace. You're trying to push them along, make them go a little bit faster. That's not really the way it should happen. Okay, so try not to push. Stay stopped until they get across. We do have bike lanes in Durham and Portsmouth and some metropolitan areas. Here it says, I know it's more than 16 cities now. I've used this for a while. I wouldn't be surprised if it's triple this, that bike lanes are responsible for following traffic law. So what we were finding is that people in bike lanes weren't stopping, weren't signaling turns and things like that. So they're trying to encourage bicyclists to stop and go like cars do by giving them their own set of traffic lights. So just take that into consideration when you're in a different, state. And when you see 12th Street, you can tell it's not a rural town. When you've got 12th Street, there's a 13th Street coming up and there was 11th behind you. So it's just going in, numerical order here. So it's a probably pretty busy area. International signs should not confuse you. I hope that at some point in your life that you get an opportunity to drive into another country. It's always nice going on vacation and seeing the world. I had an opportunity to drive in Italy, in Rome, mostly for a little bit, and see how other people drive and see what their signs and their pavement markings are like. And I did not have to take a special test. I did have to give proof of my license, and I did have to pay a fee to have what they call an international license. It transferred over with the United States license that I have. So when you do a rental car, they get to see it. And you're supposed to have your license with you when you drive in another country. So make sure that you do that. You're so young right now, I wouldn't think that you would be able to drive a rental vehicle in another country unless you maybe own a vehicle in another country because you have like maybe a summer home or a winter house up in Switzerland or something like that. If it's your own vehicle, you still got to obey the traffic law or when you're able to drive, meaning that in another country you may not be able to drive till 18. So just don't say, hey, I'm an American, I can drive in Switzerland now. No, not necessarily. You've got to find out what their laws and rules are. The other thing I want you to realize is that, can you explain this sign? And what I've done here is I was stopped at a traffic light, and I had my pocket camera with me. And I said, you know what? I'm going to take a picture of my side mirror. So that's a picture from a mirror. That's why it's backwards. So you need to realize that when you see things in your mirror, it's not the way that it truly is. And what makes this important, I think, is that a lot of times people don't realize when there's a fire truck or an ambulance, most emergency vehicles have a word spelt or have their designation, ambulance, fire truck, printed backwards on the vehicle. So when you look at it in your rear view mirror, side view mirror, it spells it correctly. So next time you're driving towards something and you're wondering, why is it spelled backwards? It's because if they were coming up behind you, you're going to be able to figure it out. Now, of course, the flashing red lights or blue lights or whatever, and the siren going should be a dead giveaway. It's an emergency vehicle and you should pull over, but some people don't even do that. I don't think I downloaded, I do have this. So let me show you the future of sign recognition. I am looking, it's not going to happen during the time that you drive with me, but I am in the process of starting to look for my next driver's ed vehicle. And I want to make it something that's contemporary and has all the latest features. And this is a feature that is starting to be more prevalent in newer vehicles. I do have something like this on my GPS. And if you want to see something in the driver's ed car, we could, tune into it so you can see where it's going to show you what the speed limit is. But we're finding that new technology can actually scan the road, get a code, and it will show you what the speed zone or what signs are coming up and what signs you've just passed on your instrument panel. It's kind of cool. So let me show you. This is Ford. This is done in Europe, but we do have it here in the United States.
While driving, one passes so many traffic signs that sometimes even important information, such as speed limits or no overtaking signs, can get lost. The driver can also sometimes be distracted by traffic and not notice some of the signs. The Ford Traffic Sign Recognition System eliminates this issue by showing important traffic sign information in the instrument panel cluster. On display are speed limits and bans on overtaking, as well as their cancellation. The front camera records the traffic signs and transmits the respective data to the vehicle's traffic sign recognition system. The traffic sign recognition system uses an aging algorithm. This means that recently detected signs appear lighter. After a while, the color gets darker until the signs begin to gray out and finally completely disappear. This helps to make the driver aware of changes in real time.
So like I was saying, we do have that in cars now, newer cars, especially the upper trim levels of vehicles, probably the lower end vehicles. The inexpensive cars won't have all this technology, but we'll have some. Let's kind of break down pavement markings real quick. So I want you to write down 4 things about pavement markings. Remember, we're trying to figure out, like with signs, we're breaking it up into shape, color, warning, regulatory. So that's for signs. For pavement markings, what I want you to do with the 4 things to remember is yellow, white, solid, broken. Okay? Once again, solid or yellow, white, solid, broken. So remember those 4 things. Yellow is telling us traffic is coming in 2 directions, oncoming traffic. White is telling us traffic is going in the same direction. Solid to the left of our vehicle is telling us traffic is not permitted to pass. Broken lines to the left of us is telling us that we can go around and pass people. Well, welcome back, Luca. I'm glad that you're hanging out with us tonight. So let's take a look at some of the lines and lanes that we may encounter. Now, rural roads don't always have lines. So the question a lot of people ask me, can I pass on a road that doesn't have lines? Yes, you can. If they didn't want you to pass, they would have signs or they would have painted the lines. But the problem with rural roads is that hills and corners could be too close, and it's really not a safe situation. If you have to do it, like, getting past a UPS truck, a mail truck, those are all situations definitely you're going around them. That's kind of like a pass. The one thing that we don't find out on the road a lot is the shared turn lane. We find this in cities. So I want you to write that down. That bottom right picture where that yellow line, solid line, and then you got 2 dotted yellow lines in the middle of that little lane. That is for people to turn left in either direction. So let me explain. I may have to go to my board. Let me see if I can find my... All right, let me get out of this here for a second, and I'll show you. I'll do it on my little board right here. So I'm making a picture right now. It's not very good. So when you get in that area to make a shared turn lane, both cars need to be separated probably by 2 car lengths. All right? 15, 20, 25 feet. So when both cars are making a left turn and it's at the exact same spot, one car is going to have to make the left-hand turn first. So this is where you're communicating by body language. This is when you're looking at somebody and going, no, you go. And they're going to go, no, you go. So it's kind of like walking at a door and both people are trying to go through the door at the same time and you're looking at each other. Someone eventually has to go. It is one of the more difficult things. And to be honest with you, I don't take you out in these situations, which I probably should. Try to take you to Dover and put you in one of these situations. It can be kind of scary because traffic gets confused about what you're really trying to do. Maybe by the end of driver's ed, I'll try to get a video. I'll try to make a video. My son's coming home soon, and he's my drone pilot. So maybe I'll have him do some videos for me, and I'll do the shared turn lane so you can see what's going on. Crosswalks we talked about. You already know about stop lines, making sure you don't making your initial stop at it and then creeping up if you can't see. And I think we all know one-way roads, two-way roads. So look for your signs. The pavement markings will let you know. So one way is off to the right where you got the 2 solid white lines on both sides. And then on two-way traffic, basically, actually opposite. One way is the picture to the left. Two-way traffic is the one to the right. This is something you don't see that often. It's called reversible lanes. And that's where all I want you to write down is the middle lane changes. And this was in your textbook, by the way. So if you did your reading, which I think was section 3, Chapter 3. That's what you needed to read to find out about reversible lanes. So make sure you write this down in your notes. The middle lane changes according to the time of day. So in the morning, you're trying to get a high volume of traffic into the city. And when you go out at nighttime, notice the middle lane changes in the opposite direction. We do have something like this in Massachusetts. Okay? We don't call it a reversible. Well, it is a reversible lane, but we also call it by another name. So write this down. It's called a zipper lane. A zipper lane is where they move barriers, so it's kind of a protected area. All right, so you can use it in the morning, and then in the evening it's going to change different direction. I don't know if I've actually made a PowerPoint slide for it, but I do know that I made a video when I went to visit my daughter. So I'm going to show you the video. So here's a video of my wife. She's driving. I'm taking the picture here of us entering the zipper lane. So if you take a look, right now we're going into the far left lane. So right now we're going to be protected by what we call Jersey barriers on either side. So right now we're in that reversible lane area. But that barrier to the left of us right now is going to get pushed over. It's going to change a little bit. In the evening, you're going to be going in the other direction. Now, a couple of things. One is make sure you only go in this area if you know you don't need to take an exit. Notice there's a green exit sign coming up. What would you do if you wanted to take this exit and you're in the zipper lane? You're just not going to be able to do it. All right, so make sure you know how far on the highway you're going to go. But look how clear this is. I mean, you don't have to worry about traffic, no one's passing you. It is just a clear shot right to the very, very end. It's kind of a cool thing to utilize. So that's our closest thing that we have in this area to reversible lane. Oh, there's the zipper lane right there. Okay. I want you to know HOV, that bottom diamond-shaped sign is an HOV lane, and that's high occupancy vehicle. So, the zipper lane is also classified as a high occupancy vehicle lane. So that's what that means. I've already gone over this, so I'm not going to do it again. This is, I think, in your manual, so make sure that you have read this and understand it. We know that odd first numbers go north-south on an interstate, even numbers east-west. Three-digit state routes, even first number goes through or around, and three-digit odd numbers only goes through. So what we have in Durham is 155 and 108. So those are examples. Displaced stop lines. So where the two left turn arrows, I want everyone to write down in your notes that displaced stop lines are for the left lane that is turning. And the reason why we have it is that you're so close to an intersection that if your line was exactly where the stop line is for people going straight or turning right, you would interfere with large trucks that are making right-hand turns. So they have to kick you back with a stop line that's like 8 to 15 feet beyond where the right stop line is. So we do have two stop lines like this in Durham. One is over near the Irving gas station on 108, and the other one is near the Wildcat statue near the the field house. There's going to be a very big displaced stop line. Here's the one in Durham near the Wildcat. I thought this was kind of ironic that the police are supposed to enforce rules and laws and be good examples, but notice what color the light is. It's a red light, and guess where the police officer is stopped? Way beyond the stop line. He's way beyond that displaced stop line. So if there's any large buses or trucks turning on the left side of this picture, they're going to have an issue with that police officer. So I thought that was kind of funny. I told my driver, hey, wait. I got to take a picture, and I had to get out my phone real quick. So you may even see me do that driving with you. School bus safety, two things I want you to write down. The first one is yellow lights of a school bus indicates it's stopping for pedestrians, for school children. So stop braking. So when you see a yellow light on a school bus, you should be on your brake pedal. Second thing is that the red lights are coming on soon after the flashing yellow lights, so stay back about 25 feet. And a lot of people will say, I know it's important that I remember 25 feet, and it is, by the way, for the midterm. You should know 25 feet from a school bus is a law. But a lot of people say, well, I don't know what that translates to. What does 25 feet look like? So in your notes, this is the best way I can tell you, and plus it will help you remember the number. Stay back 2 car lengths. If you can fit 2 cars between the flashing red lights on a school bus and where you're stopped, you probably have 25 feet. And if you remember 2 car lengths, 25 has a 2 at the beginning. So the only answer you're going to have is, because it's increments of 5 in driving, nothing's going to be, in between, 1 and 4 or 6 and 9. So it's going to either be a 5 or a 0 for an answer. So there's a 2 and 25. Should be easy. Always look out for kids. And we find that a lot of people have a hard time stopping for school buses in the morning when the sun is just coming up and the glare and they can't see very well. They could be late for work. And the same thing, sun setting in the afternoon too. It can also be a problem. So sun glare and stopping for kids is pretty high on why there are some real bad issues. I think I got an article here. Yeah, here we go. The crash happened around 7:30 in the morning, so they were getting picked up. All 3 kids died. Okay, all kids. This was an entire family. And I believe it was in front of their house, so it wasn't even like down the street, at the corner. I actually believe that the parents were near the front of the house or inside the house when they lost all 3 kids. And I'm going to show you a news report, and I believe it was the first week of school. Throughout the country, on like a 4-day period, there were like numerous kids that were killed by cars that were just going around school buses. Now, I told you, you can pass slow-moving vehicles, but you cannot pass a bus that has flashing yellow or red lights. It's just illegal. You can't do that. Let me show you the news.
Oh, Lord, have mercy.
Terror at a school bus stop in Tampa this morning.
I didn't know which kid to help because there was so many laying on the ground.
Witnesses say a speeding car slammed into 5 children and 2 adults, leaving 1 child in critical condition. The driver now in custody. One of 4 accidents at school bus stops in just the past 3 days. In central Pennsylvania this morning, a 7-year-old killed in a hit and run. The driver never even stopping to help. While in Mississippi, this man is now charged with aggravated assault after a 9-year-old was struck and killed. And in Indiana, a community is mourning 3 siblings killed this week crossing the road on their way to the bus. That driver also facing charges. Some 25 million students nationwide ride a school bus, but experts say getting on and off can be the most dangerous time, especially this time of year. Right before daylight saving time ends, it's often dark as children wait in the morning. So reflective clothing or backpacks can help and teach children to line up away from the street, stay alert, and never assume a driver will stop. A deadly lesson learned the hard way for so many this week. Kristen Dahlgren, NBC News, New York.
Hey, NBC News fans, thanks.
So be extremely careful. That's the word that I can give you, is just cautious. And just go slow. It's only going to be for a little time before the bus is up and going down the road at regular speed. So don't be in such a hurry that you have to go around. And I find most crashes, it's because people were distracted. So let's talk about railroad crossings. There will always be a sign, and I want you to write this down. It is circle. It's a yellow circle is the indicator that a crossing is coming up. Now, the sign that we have here in the picture is called a crossbuck. Don't get confused on a test if someone says, what does a crosswalk sign indicate? Because I've had students think it's a deer crossing. It is not. The other thing that you have to be aware of is the 2 tracks. That's probably more important for bicyclists and pedestrians than cars, because there'll be a gate here. The gate will stay down until both trains have gone by. But it's very common in some cities where trains will go opposite. So on one track, they're going east, and the other track, they're going west. Now, let's talk about the gates. Of course, if there are gates, you're going to stop at the gate. You're not going to go around it. If it's coming down, wait till it goes up. Now, there is a footage question here I want you to be familiar with. You must stop 15 feet before the track and no more than 50. So let me explain things here. Why do we have 2 numbers here? Well, if you're back 50 feet, people may not know, why you're back so far, and they'll try to get by you. All right? So 50 is not the number that I'm really concerned about you knowing. But that's the reason why they don't want you, any further back than 50, because people will try to get by you. 15 is what I want you to concentrate on. If you're closer than 15 feet, let's just say that there's no rail that comes down, arm that comes down. It's just on a back road. The reason why it's not 10 feet, 12 feet, 9 feet, 8 feet, whatever, why 15 is the magic number, is that trains will come off the tracks, what we call derailment, near the edge of the road. If you're closer than 15 feet, that train is going to be crushing on top of your vehicle. Now, depending on how close it is, it could only be your bumper, it could be your hood, or if you're super, super close, it could actually break your window and start, maybe crushing where you're at. Because from your bumper to your steering wheel is not 15 feet. It's much less than that. So getting too close, the train could actually come down on top of you. I don't know if I've got my train video. I don't think I did. Looking for my train. I don't think I see. No, I don't think I did that. I'll leave that off. I don't have the safety video. Get through that anyways. Okay, right of way, I want you to write down. The law doesn't give anyone the right of way. It only says who must yield it. Now remember, another word for yield is wait. So think of it. Who has to wait? Well, generally at an intersection with no traffic control, so there's no light or signal, the vehicle to the right has to wait. And that would be like you coming out of a driveway, okay? And your driveway intersects with a roadway. So before you pull out of your driveway, you're waiting for traffic. You're not just pulling out blindly. But I believe in the manual, they actually give you 9 situations. So let's kind of break it down. And some of them are kind of related. So this is the basic 4-way stop. A vehicle in the intersection has the right of way over someone that's preparing to get there, to enter. Okay, a vehicle going straight has the right of way over a car that's turning left. All right, because you're never going to cut in front of somebody like that. Emergency vehicles, but they have to be responding to an alarm, so you don't pull over the side of the road for every police officer that's coming up behind you. We've already talked about pedestrians. We know we have to yield to them in a crosswalk. Vehicles on a main road over a side road or a driveway, and I gave you that example already. Blind people, we know they're blind by the guide dog or the white cane with the red tip. And I forget who was driving, but we did encounter someone that was blind the other day when we were driving. And of course, the driver at the intersection first, after stopping, gets to go first. So these are all situations that you should be familiar with, okay? So know all of these. Now, some of them may come in the form of a multiple choice. and there could be one that's not right. And you're going to have to figure it out. Okay? Emergency vehicles, I don't have that one. Don't fool around the vehicle. Okay, carrying passengers and freight. Your car is a tool to get you to where you want to go. When you start clowning around with jumping on the hood, the roof, the trunk, pulling a bicycle or a skateboard, all bad. Okay, you don't want that to happen. So here's a news article, and I always, if you want to find an article and you think it's really interesting, send it my way. I may use it in class because I want this to be topical. I just don't want to, share things that maybe like 15, 20 years ago. I try to update as much as I can with material. Unless it's really, really good, I'll keep it for a while. But I thought this was kind of sad that a sister accidentally, I don't know if she didn't do it on purpose, but I mean, how do you tell your parents that you just ran over your brother? Well, because you were playing chicken in a parking lot. Not too smart. Not too smart on either case. I mean, they both had to be willing participants. I took this picture on a Saturday afternoon just before a UNH football game. I hope all those people are older than 18 because remember, in New Hampshire, you have to be seatbelted if you're under the age of 18. Now, that truck makes one quick stop, goes too quick. Someone hits the truck. There are people going to be falling over the edge. And the picture to the right, too, they're on the wrong side of the road. What's up with that? Okay, that's not too smart. So what is the law? Okay, you can't let anybody on the hood, roof, or trunk of a vehicle that's moving. Makes sense, doesn't it? Now, if you're in the back of a pickup, it's legal if you're older than 18, but I would be sitting down. I wouldn't be, leaning on the edge like that. Now, you may think it's not that far, it's not that big of a deal, but guess what? You're always going to read a story where things go wrong real quick. So if you always plan things to be safe, then you're always going to be safe. That makes sense, right? But when you start, cutting corners, thinking it's not that bad, something bad's going to happen. Now, don't carry anything on the left side of the car more than 6 inches because of oncoming traffic. So stick everything you want out the right side of the vehicle. You're less likely to have someone hit it. Make sure that you have control of your instrument panel, meaning don't let more than 3 people in the front seat because you're not going to be able to use some of the controls possibly. Shift very well. Don't let anybody ride in a house trailer, utility trailer. Now, utility trailer is like what you go to the dump in. House trailer is what they're talking about, a camping trailer that has a hitch. We're not talking Winnebagos, that has a steering wheel and a motor and you're going to the lake. We're talking about you've got a pickup truck and you've got a hitch and you're pulling a unit behind you. That's a camper, house trailer, and that's supposed to be inside that. Now, tethered, dogs need to be tethered in a pickup. That is basically mean that you're tied on either side. So make sure you write down your notes. A dog that is tethered will be tied to the left and it will be tied to the right. That way the dog won't be able to jump over the edge and be dragged down the roadway. That gets us to the end of sign signals and pavement markings. So we kind of pieced it together between 2 classes, but that got us to where we're at. So let's pop right into stopping. Now, I'm not too sure what that means, Leah, what equal means, but it could be just me. This section on stopping is really, really short, so I only want to spend a little bit of time on this, but there are some definitions and some thought process that I want you to think about when it comes to stopping your vehicle. Now, we had a section on using your eyes. So in order to stop really well, you have to know what's happening up ahead. So you must be looking down the roadway, okay? So time does matter. So let me show you this.
At just 5 miles per hour over the 30 miles per hour speed limit, how much further will it take to stop? 1 foot, 2 feet, 3 feet, 4 feet, 5 feet, 6 feet, 7 feet, 8 feet, 9 feet, 10 feet, 11 feet, 12 feet, 13 feet, 14 feet, 15 feet, 16 feet, 17 feet, 18 feet, 19 feet, 20 feet, 21 feet.
So as you can see from the video, once you step on the brakes, your car can only do what it's meant to do, meaning that, at 20 miles per hour, it's going to take you, maybe 32 feet. There's nothing that you can change about it. There may be some things that you can make it a little bit different, but stopping is very scientific. It's based upon, engineering and how your car is built and your tires and your reaction and all that stuff. But you want more time. Basically, the thing that I want you to take away from stopping is give yourself enough time to stop. You don't want less time, you want more time. Now, after there has been a crash, the police will go out and investigate, and they'll do some type of reconstruction. And it's amazing how they can figure out how fast a person was going by skid marks, where the car was placed out on the roadway. So just by going a little bit slower, a real bad injury or maybe even a fatality could have changed if people had just slowed down a little bit. So let's take a look at what it looks like up on a highway if you were going a little bit slower.
What you're about to see will change your mind about speeding. 2 identical cars, one travelling at 60, the other at 65. A sudden change in the road ahead, and both drivers first react, and then, a moment later, they brake. And things start to get interesting. Down here, the difference is extraordinary. In the last 5 metres of braking, you wipe off half your speed. So this car is still doing 32 k's when it hits. This one also hits, but only at 5 k's. So no matter how good a driver you are, 5 k's difference up there makes 27 k's difference down here.
So what I want you to write down in your notes is that always drop your speed by 5 miles per hour. Like when you approach that green light that you think is going to change, when you see pedestrians, when you see cars backing out of a parking spot in a downtown area. By going slower, you're giving yourself more distance to make a decent stop. Remember, you don't want less distance, you want more distance to stop. So, even when road and vehicle conditions are ideal and the driver is perfectly alert. So we're talking about the perfect day. and the perfect driver. And that's today. Today was a perfect day. Okay? So if you are well rested, had a good breakfast, you're out driving at 9 o'clock, like a day like today, that's the kind of day that you want. Okay? It takes a great distance to stop a motor vehicle. So this is what I want you to write down. Through the use of good judgment and knowledge of stopping distance, you can reduce the chance of being involved in a crash. Okay, so I want everybody to write an answer on YouTube. Okay, so if you're part of the YouTube crowd that's got, I want to see who's here. From the time that you see a need to stop, so let me give you a case scenario. You're on the highway and you see an animal wander out in front of you. Let's call it a raccoon, okay? So a raccoon waddles out in front of you and you're going 50 miles per hour. What I want you to do in the comments, I want you to write down how many feet is it going to take you to stop. From the moment you see the raccoon to the minute you stop, how far will you have traveled on the highway? Okay, so write that down, and I'm going to continue to kind of go through some things. Now, to stop your vehicle, 3 things must happen, okay? The first thing, you must see and recognize the need to stop. So let's just use that same case scenario. If you don't see the raccoon, you're going to go right over him, okay, regardless of how fast you're going. You have to see it first. And you have to know that, well, I better stop for it. It may be a deer and not a raccoon. You don't want a deer hitting your car. So your brain must tell your foot to stop or step on the brake, okay? And then your foot must move to the brake pedal and operate the brakes correctly. Now, what I think makes this so interesting is that why wouldn't your brain tell your foot to step on the brakes? Well, one, you could be distracted. One, you could be fatigued. Another reason could be you're under the influence of some type of a drug. So that's going to have a direct correlation with the communication to get to the brake pedal. And it's going to also affect the way that you operate the brake pedal, at what pressure. Because you could be on the brake pedal thinking, oh, I'm stopping, but you're not using it the right way, the right amount. And some of you are doing that with me, is that we're coming up on stop cars and traffic lights. It's like brake, brake, slow, slow. You're on the brake pedal, but you're not using it correctly. So it has to be done at the right time, right amount of pressure. How come I'm not seeing any answers on my YouTube here for how long is it going to take you to stop a vehicle? I want to see some numbers up here. Come on, people. Answer these questions. I got 13 of you watching. I know I'm missing a few people. So this is how I'm going to know that you're here. So put it on YouTube, and I'm going to give you the option. You've got to put it on text message too, because some of you aren't doing the text message thing. There we go. There's my first 50 feet. Keep the answers coming. 100. Okay, keep them coming. Now, I want you to write down human reaction, okay? So while you're typing this, now you're going to have to do some more note taking. So human reaction. The time it takes from the moment you see something till you step on the brake is called reaction time. The distance that your vehicle travels during this time is called reaction distance. Okay, so reaction time, reaction distance. The average driver, it takes about 3/4 of a second. I'm seeing some answers. I don't see all of them. I'll give you the answer, and you're going to find it very hard to believe. Okay, the correct answer, if you're on a highway, 50 miles per hour, and a raccoon comes out in front of you, it's going to be probably right around 300 feet. Okay, maybe a little less than 300 feet. That's incredible. Okay, so a little less than 300 feet. Now, the next terminology that I want you to write down is braking time and braking distance. So from the time that it takes the brakes and the friction between the road to stop your vehicle, and braking distance is the distance your vehicle travels during this time. So I want you to have all those four terms written down, okay? So reaction time, reaction distance, braking time, and braking distance. Now, we can basically figure out that reaction time is going to probably be around 10 to 11 feet per 10 miles per hour. So at 30 miles per hour, to get from the gas to the brake pedal, you're going to go roughly 30 to 33 feet. That's just getting to the brake pedal. Now, once you hit the brake pedal, that's when braking time and braking distance. And usually what they figure is it's going to take you 3 to 4 times the distance to stop your vehicle at higher speeds. So when you double your speed, you're tripling or quadrupling your stopping distance. So there is no direct correlation. 10 feet, oh my goodness. There's no way you're going to stop 50 miles per hour in 10 feet. Your vehicle is bigger than, longer than 10 feet. So other factors that come into braking is road surface, brakes, weather, and the big one I want you to write down is tires. So let me show you something on tires.
We tested the effect worn tires have on stopping distance. 60 miles per hour on a wet road. 3 sets of tires, each with different tread depths. And 1 professional driver. When the driver accelerated to 60 miles per hour, watch what happened when he tried to stop. While your actual distances may vary, it took him nearly 10 additional car lengths to stop on worn tires. So, when will you stop? Ask about our complimentary tire inspections.
So tires play a big factor. Now, the other thing I want you to write down is that it's good to have good tires on, but in the wintertime, you also have to think about traction. So stopping distance is important. Traction is really important. To grip the road, to get some type of pulling power on the road, you need those grooves. The best tire to have to stop with on a nice day like today is not a tire that has tread. All your NASCAR cars and racing cars do not have tread on their tire. They're slicks because you have more rubber. More rubber on the road gives you more surface contact, and it allows you to accelerate quicker and to stop more quickly, okay? So tread on a tire is for bad weather, snow, slush, rain, things like that. So remember that. So we're getting in the winter months now, so switching over to a better winter tire with bigger grooves, more aggressive tread is always recommended. Now, on the flip side of stopping is speed. It's kind of like the yin and yang of driving, stopping and speed. I always tell people, I think, and it's not in the new manual this way. In the old manual, it was. The section on stopping was before the section on speed. I always believed that if people had a basic knowledge of stopping distance, they wouldn't drive so fast. Now, if we were in class I would go around the room right now, and I can look at the names that are listed right here who answered these questions. I could probably almost bet 80%, being 80% correct, I could probably guess whether you've been in a vehicle that has been traveling at 100 miles per hour. Think about it. There is no place legally on a roadway in the United States that you can legally drive at 100 miles per hour. But I'm almost betting, looking at the names right here, there are some of you that have been in a car that's been driven at 100 miles per hour. Can you imagine what your stopping distance would have to be to stop a car at 100 miles per hour? Can you imagine if you had a tire blowout or if you had a deer run out in front of you? And by the way, airbags are good, seatbelts are good, but they're not basically built to handle that type of an impact of a car going that fast. It's more for what we have for highway speeds posted on a roadway. So going to those excessive speeds, unless you're on a runway doing something with some type of trained driver, you really shouldn't be going at those speeds above 85. Okay, very rarely you're going to find a speed limit in the United States above 75, 80. And then, of course, people always go a little bit faster than what they should. So 80, 85, that should be top level. Okay, it'd be interesting to see how many of you have been in a car going over 100 miles per hour. Now, the other thing is that once you get to be a licensed driver, you are responsible for the other people in your vehicle. So when you start driving crazy and they feel uncomfortable, you should start to change the way that you drive. Listen to your passengers. It's their life too, okay? You have their life in your hands. So don't start making them feel inadequate about not liking the way that you're driving and about don't you want to have some fun. Don't be like that, okay? Fear is a big thing. When you do not have control of the car, watching someone else make mistakes driving, it does get nerve-wracking. Now, I found a video of, let me show it to you, all right? And you tell me how comfortable you think this car salesman. A car salesman takes this person out for a test drive. Test driver actually takes him for a ride. Let me show you.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Nice and easy. We'll just head on out and whenever you're ready.
Are you ready to go ahead and
By the way, this is basically how I feel sometimes driving with some of the vehicles. So his reaction.
A little more than I'm used to.
It's got some power, so just get a feel for it. Okay. Okay, all right. Ease off just a little. Ease up.
So I was thinking a little more age on me, some wrinkles, a little dorky, maybe some facial hair. It was somebody that I can pull off a fun prank with. Let's go have some fun. My good friends at Pepsi Max have hooked us up with this cool cam. So these are the glasses cam that show you everything that I see.
How you doing?
Hello. I'm Mike.
Steve, nice to meet you, Mike. I saw you sort of gravitated towards the Camaro. You thinking about getting one?
Oh, no. This way too much car for me.
Well, it's a lot of power, but they designed it to be very safe.
I don't know if I can handle it. I've never driven anything like this before.
Well, I tell you what, I think a way to really make you feel comfortable would be to put you behind the wheel.
You're good.
What are you driving now?
Oh, just a minivan.
Oh, yeah.
What am I
You're not
signing
obligated.
here?
You're not,
sure?
it's just a checkout sheet for a test drive. You're not obligated to anything. It's just so we know who's out. Let's go give it a drive.
I'm getting a little nervous.
No, I'll be right there beside you. There are your keys, sir.
Thank you, Steve.
You'll have to unlock it, Mike.
Oh,
yeah.
Thank you.
There we go.
Oh, yeah, what a car.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we better buckle up.
Yeah, good call. Yeah. Power door locks, standard, of course.
You are liable for any damages to the vehicle, so please stop the car, or at least slow down. Slow down.
You can't go through that gate, Mike. Stop! Stop! Don't go through
Watch it! Watch out!
You're gonna wreck this car, and you're liable for it if you wreck it. Mike, stop the car! Stop the car right now!
Get up here!
Yeah! No, oh my God!
Just take us back. Oh, no.
You all right over there, Steve?
Oh, you're an idiot. I'm going to kill you. Oh, stop. Oh, God almighty. Oh, God damn.
Woo! Yeah! Who the f*** do you think you are?
What do you mean?
I'm calling the cops.
No, you don't understand. It's not what you think. It's not what you think. No, it's just a prank. We're just having fun. Look, this is a camera. Here's a camera. There's cameras. Look, it was all just fun. Look, I'm Jeff Gordon. Sorry, man. Sorry.
Want to do it again?
Yeah.
Now, those emotions were real. He was actually very scared for his life. And he wasn't listening to the driver. He wasn't listening to Mike to slow down. You should do that. If you're out driving and your friends are telling you to slow down, you better slow down. And I thought it was kind of interesting at the very end when they were outside of the vehicle when he wanted to call the police and Jeff Gordon took off his, facial hair. And he said, "Hey, I'm Jeff Gordon." And I believe the salesman knew who Jeff Gordon is, okay, once he took off the facial hair. And he said, "Well, hey, you want to do it again?" All of a sudden his attitude changed because he realized that he's a trained professional. Okay, he was truly okay with the way Jeff was driving. But people don't know what type of driver you are. So when you're losing a little bit of control, people are going to be a little nervous. So listen, you may think that you're Jeff Gordon and that you're going to be okay, but in reality, you can't. You got to be responsible. So let's talk about speed. So let's talk about what is the safest speed. What is how do speed limits actually come into play with our driving, and how do we know what these speed limits are? Basically, I like to always think of it in these two contexts here. One that allows you to have complete control of the vehicle, meaning that you can make all your turns left and rights. You can stop the vehicle at your stop lines. You can handle the vehicle. Now, there are going to be situations in your driving career where there's going to be a blowout, there's going to be an engine problem, there's going to be a car that comes into your lane. Could you handle any emergency that comes up while you're driving? That's important, okay? If you think that you can handle that, then probably you are at a safe speed. So what are factors? And it's basically, like we said, stopping and speed are the yin and yang. So what we are discussing here right now is the same as what we kind of alluded to with stopping. So what are the road conditions? Are you on a hill, on a corner? Is it bumpy? How well can you see? Is it rainy? Is it fog like this morning? Is there snow, intersection, hills, curves, parked cars? All these factors, heavy traffic, all these factors come up with what is a safe speed. I will tend to believe that most people feel that they're safe when they're driving at certain speeds, but in reality, they're probably 5 over what they should. I think most people are driving 5 miles faster than they probably should. So if you're 10 over, you should only be 5 over. If you're 5 over, be right on the speed limit. It's definitely going to make you a better driver. It's definitely going to make you safer. Now, this isn't, I think, from the new manual. This is from the old one. And what I've got there in bold type, the safest speed is the average speed. which traffic is moving, provided, and here's the caveat, provided that you don't go over the posted speed limit. Okay, the way it's written in the books, okay, what police officer is supposed to enforce is that if it says 35, you're supposed to go 35. If it's posted 50, you're supposed to go 50. That is the safest speed, what the state believes. But we know that most people are going faster. So if you're going the same speed of everybody else and you've got your 4-second following distance, you're probably pretty safe. It's the Yahoo that's out on the highway going 10, 15 miles above the average speed of everybody else, and he's cutting himself in and out of traffic. He's the one that's going to get in trouble. He's the one that's going to get picked up for speeding. So just realize that if you're on a highway posted at 55 and everybody's going 62, 63, if you're going like everybody else and you got that following distance, they're probably not going to pull you over because you do have good following distance. You're not like, you're like everybody else. You don't stand out. But provided, of course, the state has to say, you really can't go above the speed limit. So on your driver's test, be as close as the speed limit. You're not going to have any issues with your driver's test with your speed limit. Your vehicle comes into play, your brakes, suspension, tires, we've already talked about. Your condition, why go fast if you're tired or you're not emotionally stable? You're upset. You just had an emotional fight with a boyfriend, a girlfriend. When you get older, if you've had maybe a few too many drinks, why would you be going above the speed limit? Your reflexes are going to be slower, under the influence of most drugs. Most drugs don't make you better as a driver. They make you worse. Now, the only reason why I say most is because caffeine or a stimulant can make you more alert. You see things probably a little bit better. But I'd say 80% are probably going to make you worse. Now, the highway department has basically done studies, and they basically looked at traffic flow. So they have an idea of where everybody is in that speed spectrum of what would be safe. Now, remember, a stretch of roadway can change. The speed limit can change. Sometimes they may think that we got to get more cars through this area, so let's go from 35 to 40. Or there's going to be, a numerous car crashes, and they're going to post it at a lower speed, going from 40 to 35. So it could go either way. And then when visibility and traffic conditions are bad, like in the winter months, then they're going to drop the speed to a winter advisory. Okay, and that's important. Let me give you an idea of how do people track speed.
If you reckon you can get away with speeding, look at this. Police radars are more sophisticated than ever. He's about 1 kilometre away, this fella. Watch this. Got him.
He had no idea.
Here you go. Just slow down, it's not worth it. Over 200 cars with these radars are out day and night.
And back in town, the new ProLight lasers can pinpoint a speeding driver in busy traffic and catch him.
It's just not worth speeding, because we'll catch you before someone gets hurt.
We basically have different ways to monitor speed. We do it with radar, we do it with laser, we do it by aircraft in New Hampshire. We actually have police officers up in the sky in helicopters and planes that are patrolling some of the major roadways here in New Hampshire. Spalding Turnpike, 95, 93, 89, all those roads, Route 101, but they're not doing 108, 155, so we're only talking about major highways. We're not talking some of the secondary roads. But don't be surprised. A lot of people think if I get a radar detector, there's no way that they're going to catch me. There's ways. Now, we know what technology is out there. So it's a cat and mouse game. You're trying to get radar jammers and indicators in your vehicle, and they're trying to find ways that they can hide and to mask what they're patrolling with. There is no foolproof method, and I think it gives you a false sense of security. I'm never a big fan of radar detectors in vehicles because it's like, hey, I want to speed and I want to get away with it. Well, what speed are you going to go? Are you going to go just a little over the speed limit and you don't want to get a ticket, or do you want to go like 30, 40, 50 miles above the speed limit and put everybody else in danger? So I'm not a big fan of radar detectors. Okay, and in some states you can't have them. It's actually illegal. They can actually write you up for having it or take it out of your vehicle. I think Connecticut at least used to be. So let me show you how radar actually works.
Hi, I'm Bo Babkin. We're coming to you from the Cottonwood Heights Police Department in Utah. The next question is, how does a radar gun work, or how does radar work? There's two different types of radar in our world right now, and there are others, but the two I'll talk about is, one is regular radar, which is a frequency-based type of radar, and then we have LiDAR, which is laser, which is the acuity of a laser radar gun is pretty close to being perfect. I mean, you can, from many, many hundreds of feet, you can put a laser on the front of a license plate and measure how fast somebody's going, as opposed to the other one I talked about briefly before, and that's the regular radar, or the frequency radar, where it sends out a frequency and it calculates how fast somebody's going. Sometimes, or most of the time, an officer will be standing stationary, and that machine will measure the speed of a vehicle and how fast it's going. There are other situations where we can measure the speed of a vehicle as well when a patrol car or a police car is going in one direction and a car is coming in the other direction. That machine that's being used is measuring the speed of the actual vehicle that's going to measure it and measuring the speed of the vehicle coming towards. So it's really quite a machine, and I know we don't have enough time to really explain all of it, but I know they work very well, one on frequency, one on laser beam, if you will.
Okay, that gives you a good, an overview of what they're using and how they're setting it up. I do want to talk about photo enforcement. There are some other things about speed, but I don't want to get into it tonight, so we're going to finish that up tomorrow. I think tomorrow is going to be the best day for having the midterm rather than on Thursday, because I believe you do not have school tomorrow, so at least you're going to have some time to maybe devote to looking through your notes. And it's going to be, majority will be on signs, signals, pavement markings, a lot of signs. But I will interject some questions on things that we've covered in the other classes that we've had. But this will kind of give you an overview of what we've covered so far. So I want to give you time to study for that. I do want to go online to my remote Facebook page to put the Chapter 4, or Chapter 3, I'm sorry, review questions on, but I do have to make a correction, so I got to go into the testing site, make a few changes, and then get it listed. So it'll probably take me 15, 20 minutes to do that, but you've got all day. Just have it in by tomorrow. Make sure all the other chapters you've looked through and you're familiar with the topics that we've covered, and it should set you up. So we'll deal with finishing up on speed, parking, and probably road rage. We won't do distracted driving. I'm going to throw that onto another day. So that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to sign off and try to get everything up and running. And the midterm, by the way, will be like the chapter test. It will be a link from the remote Facebook page, and I will give you the password to get in. And the password will be different than what we've been doing for homework. So tonight's homework, remember, NOV 2020 is your password, capital N. And like I said, give me just a few moments. And if anybody can drive at 10 tomorrow, text me. Let me know, and we'll drive at 10. If not, we'll try to schedule for, I got a few hours on Friday, I think, definitely on Saturday, and a few hours like during lunch on Thursday, I might be able to drive. So tell me what your availability is. I'll look through text messages and see what we got for people. So study hard. Good luck for tomorrow's midterm. And we'll see you tomorrow at 7:30. So give me about 10, 15 minutes. I'll have it up on the Facebook page. All right. Have a good night.